Hello all, welcome to this session of OpenMentor.net. Our motto is the whole world can learn for free. In this we are looking at HR domain. In the last session we talked about a part of recruitment, how to get the resume database, how to get the positions, consolidation of positions, job code creations, then scheduling interviews, keeping the status of interview, resume bank. Then we ended it almost like the interview is over, now the candidate is selected. Then the next step that comes is job offer. Job offer is not a small thing, because the job offer is the one that attracts the talent. If the job offer is tricky, if the candidate feels it is hiding some information, you may lose good people. So the job offer has something called content, I would say text content, then numbers, right? This is typically a package, right? So what happens is there is a team, there's a legal team that gives terms of employment, okay, for every position or every role. The terms for a junior person may be different from the terms of a senior person, from the terms of salesperson. Terms of employment is legal, right? So it will be provided by a legal team. The salary and benefits, right? This will be given by the accounts department, okay? The accounts department will have standard packages based on the negotiations. They will always have some band within the range, they will provide that. Then the text content in terms of covering letter, right, joining date, location of joining, right, all these things will be provided by the HR. So preparing the job offer itself is a separate task. So task tracking within HR system is available. So the HR manager will say create a job offer for this candidate ID for this particular job code. So some HR executive should do that and then update the status is this is done, right? Then review the offer, right? That's a separate task. Usually the managers will review the offer, because 90% of the content will be same, but you need to review, one other person should review whether the numbers are correct, whether the terms are correct based on the negotiation, because certain positions are very critical. You might have negotiated separately. Imagine that you have agreed for the offer of say $70,000 a year, and when the offer letter goes with $69,800, right, you may always say okay, it's just $200, but it doesn't give a good impression to the candidate. So someone has to review, and then someone has to sign and send, right? It may be a scanned copy sent via email, or it may be a hard copy signed and then posted to the candidate. So offer letter preparation, review and sending to the candidate itself is a separate task. In some cases offer will be generic, right? That means same content can be given to many people, especially if a company is hiring 100 fresh graduates from college, right? Except the name and address, all other things will be pretty similar to everybody, because the scale will be uniform. But when they're hiring laterally, scale will be different, right? It may be generic or it may be specific, specifically for lateral hiring. So job offer preparation, and then storing all those job offers, and then when the candidate accepts the offer, right, candidate has to sign and then send it back again, right, electronically send it as a soft copy, right, store the signed soft copies in HR system. That's also important. What offer you sent, whether the candidate accepted it and signed and then sent it back to you, that you need to check it out. This is the job offer part. There are other formalities usually, right? In some companies this may happen before the candidate joins you. In some companies this can happen after the candidate joins you with some conditional stuff. There are two things. Number one is health check, another is background check. Health check, mainly people will be checking for addictions, right, basic fitness, right, and banned substance usage. Because if people that you recruit, if one of them is addicted to cocaine, then obviously it is a banned substance. So you need to know upfront, and your HR policies may not allow that. So there is a health check, and there is a background check in terms of financial background, criminal records background, right, and then any civil case pending on this candidate, right, and any driving violations, right. Some companies may not be willing to have people with more driving violations, especially for food delivery. If you are recruiting someone for food delivery, and if this person shows a lot of driving violations, you may not even recruit, right. So health records and background check records need to be maintained in the HR system. Again, the HR team, for every candidate who have been offered and accepted, they will initiate health check, right. When it comes to health check, they will have some standard hospitals. Okay, go to this hospital or this lab, get these records done, send us the soft copy of those records. The company will always have their own doctors who will certify based on the records, yes, they are within your employment policies. So the status of every candidate based on above checks, right, will be in HR system. These two are basically verifications, employment verifications. Background check is on this. There is one more very specific background check is on education and past employment checks. You might be wondering why a company should suspect the selected candidate. There is a survey that says at least 2 to 3% of the people, again this is a survey, this number may be slightly here and there, but usually 2 to 3% of the selected candidates have definitely lied blatantly in the resumes. They might have got the capability to do the job, but either they gave some false information about past employment or education. There had been instances where even some of the CEOs were fired after coming to know that they have falsified their employment information or educational information. It's a serious offense because this violates the information disclosure part. So when someone falsifies the information and then gets in, what is the genuinity of that person inside the organization? What is the guarantee that this person will falsify information of this company to its clients or to its own employees? So in fact, I have seen one of the websites that says it may be a rude shock, but it will say, the first line will say, have you hired a moron, right? It's very difficult to digest that kind of a phrase, harsh phrase, but all of a sudden then one bad employee can cause almost like unimaginable credibility loss to the company due to bad behavior or bad background or a bad criminal record, right? So more than this criminal and financial things, this education and past employment checks, they are part of dishonesty, right? Dishonesty is a silent killer, right? So the separate background check on these two will be conducted by independent agencies, and then in the HR system this status will also be stored, right? They will store the information, yes, all information provided by the candidate in the resume is all clean, and again they will have a tolerance. Okay, by mistake, if someone says, suppose the person has worked in this company from June 2009 to August 2010, by mistake if he has said September 2010, still it's a violation, but benefit of doubt may also go with respect to maybe a typo error or maybe something by mistake he has done, right? Certain things they can tolerate. Again, there is a percentage limit on the tolerance. So based on education and employment checks, HR has to take a decision for every selected candidate. Then the onboarding happens. Onboarding meaning bringing the employee inside the company, right? For this, date of joining, right, that needs to happen, location in which the person has to join, then certificates verification, right? You may ask the employee to come with all originals of whatever is maybe the relieving order from the previous employer, right? These things may happen on that day, right? So all documents will be verified, right? But if the candidate is in a different town and he has to join in a separate location, who will arrange the logistics, the travel? So arrangement of travel or stay, right, are also part of onboarding, right? Including, okay, I'm recruiting a vice president. When the vice president lands in this particular city, then obviously I need to send a cab to pick him up, because that gives a good impression to the new candidate who is joining the company, right? So onboarding is not just this candidate walks into your office. You may have to make some arrangements for this guy, right? Because you want to get good talent. You want to get good impression from the people who you are recruiting. So the onboarding happens with all these tasks completed. And soon after onboarding, right, there will be some standard induction programs. The induction program in some companies may be happening for 1 day, it may happen for 2 days, right? During this induction program, soon after onboarding, maybe 1 or 2 days, are topics about company policies, right? Standard package that candidates must go through, right? Policies, employee handbooks, right? Some of the jargons that are used in the company, right? I have seen in some companies every employee will use this phrase awesome, right? In some place I have seen some acronyms which will be available, which will be used only within that particular premise, because it's a culture of the company. So jargons, culture, right? And then introduction to accounts department, HR department, all these things will happen, correct? In fact, there are companies which provide uniform to employees, right? During this induction program, they will also take measurements of this new employee to get this uniform stitched, right? And they will talk about what is the meaning of the company's logo. If it is a public company, they will talk about the stock price, everything, stock options, right? So the induction program is part and parcel of onboarding, right? And the HR system, in the HR system, status of induction, okay, for X number of people who have been onboarded on this particular date in this particular location, how many have attended the induction program, right? That's part of that. So HR system will take care of this part as part of bringing the employee inside the company. Let me stop here in this session. So we have started from need identification to interview process to bringing the person in to the company after proper checks, right? So the employee is now in. A lot more things to happen for the employee inside the company till he exits the company, right? I will stop this session here. We will continue in the next session. Thank you.